I need you to watch something very carefully, because what you're about to hear is not a Republican saying this, not a conservative commentator, not somebody on the right just trying to score some political points. But what you're about to hear is the woman who ran for president of the United States, the woman who spent an entire campaign telling you that Donald Trump was a threat to democracy, telling you exactly how her party plans to make sure that they never lose an election again. In her own words, last night on a live stream, she called it a no bad ideas brainstorm. But I'm going to call it exactly what it is. So stay with me here. But first, let's just hear it straight from the horse's mouth from Kamala herself. Cut to the clip.
Here's how she laid it out.
This is a moment where there are no bad ideas. A no bad idea brainstorm is what I'd like to call it. And in that no bad ideas brainstorm, we talk about what we need to do and think about doing around the Electoral College. We talk about the idea of Supreme Court reform, which includes expanding the Supreme Court. Let's talk about statehood for Puerto Rico and D.C.
Okay, did you catch that? Did you catch all of that? Because I'm going to break down every single piece of what she just proposed and show you exactly what each one of these ideas does to your vote, okay? And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the party screaming the loudest about saving the democracy is the one with the most detailed plan to end it. Okay, so I'm Carlton Flowers. Welcome to Go Political. And warning, I am a black conservative, all right? But I don't vote parties. I vote values. And what I'm about to show you is not left versus right. It's not Republican versus Democrat. So you're safe. It's about whether your vote, regardless of the party, will mean anything in about 10 years if this absurd plan moves forward. Because this isn't about politics. It's about power, period. And who gets to keep it permanently. All right, well, let me give you the full context, okay? So on Wednesday night, May the 14th, 2026, Kamala Harris appeared on a live stream called the Win with Black Women podcast, and she was reacting to the Supreme Court's recent decision on the Voter Rights Act. A decision that we just covered right here on the channel in the last few videos. And here is the complete list of what Kamala proposed as part of her, and I'm quoting this directly, the no bad ideas brainstorm for the Democratic Party. I like to call them the Dumbo-cratic Party. Okay, so let's just start it off. Here it is. Number one. Reform the Electoral College. What? Number two, expand the Supreme Court. Number three, create multi-member congressional districts. Number four, grant statehood to Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. And number five, establish new rules to punish the Supreme Court nominees for lying during confirmation hearings. Boy, that sounds safe, doesn't it? Okay, so then she added, and then this is really, really important, so listen up. She added that Republicans are aware, and this is her quote, they are in a losing position around the midterms, and they will cheat based on an agenda and a playbook. That's exactly what she said. And her response to that was to call on Democrats to fight fire with fire. Wow, fight fire with fire. So remember that phrase, tuck that away in the back of your mind, because I'm going to come right back to that one. Now, let's go through each one of these ridiculous proposals and break it all the way down. And then I want you to ask yourself one question about each one of these stupid ideas. Does it expand democracy for all Americans, or does this guarantee permanent power for one party? All right. Well, the Electoral College. So she wants to reform it, which in Democrat language means eliminate it. You got to read between the lines, people. So here's what the Electoral College actually does in plain English. Let's keep it simple. The Electoral College makes sure that a candidate for president has to win across the country, not just in the biggest cities. So right now, if you run up an enormous margin in places like New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, you still have to compete for the votes in Wyoming, Montana, in my state, Missouri, or in Louisiana, Mississippi. Well, every state matters. And without the Electoral College, the popular vote, a presidential candidate never has to visit a single rural state ever again, never has to address a single concern of middle America. You just max out your margins in 5 or the 6 of the major metropolitan areas, and voila, you win. Okay, so who lives in those 5 or 6 metropolitan areas, you ask? Who dominates the population centers in the United States? Well, of course, it's the Democratic base. Boom, overwhelmingly. All right. So this isn't a proposal to make your vote count more. This is a proposal to make their votes count more, and make your vote in a smaller state mathematically irrelevant. Yeah. Okay, so guess what? The founders of the country, they understood this, and that's why they built the Electoral College in the first place. So it was to prevent the most populated areas from permanently controlling the entire country. And the party screaming about protecting the democracy, well, they're the same ones that want to tear that protection down. So ask yourself, if eliminating the Electoral College truly benefited all Americans equally, well, why is it kind of only one party that's pushing for it? All right, now this one. The Supreme Court, packing the Supreme Court. This one right here is the most dangerous proposal on the whole list. It's just ridiculous, and I want you to understand exactly why. The Supreme Court currently has 9 justices, all right? And that has been the number since 1869. 157 years. Through world wars, through the civil rights movement, through every political crisis this country has ever faced. 9 justices. All right, so, well, why does that matter? Well, because the Supreme Court is supposed to be the one institution in American government that is insulated from political pressure. All right. Justices serve for life. They can't be fired. You can't recall them. You can't get rid of them. They're not supposed to care who's in the White House because their job is to do one thing: interpret the Constitution, not to serve the people who put them there. Now, Kamala Harris, wants to expand the court. Well, how many seats? Well, Democrats are talking about 9 to 13 seats. I just can't believe this. So that would mean that a Democratic president and a Democratic Senate appointing 4 brand new justices all at one time, flipping the ideological balance of the court overnight, not over time. So think about what that means. Every major decision, every single one of them, we're talking voter rights, immigration, gun rights, free speech, religious liberty. Well, now they'd all be decided by a court deliberately packed to reach a specific political outcome. And here's the part that should terrify everyone, Republicans and Democrats. If the Democrats can pack the court when they win, what happens when the Republicans win next? Well, they'll pack it in the other direction. And then the Democrats will come back and pack it again their way. And you end up in a death spiral where the Supreme Court ain't nothing but a big political football field, completely worthless as a check on government power because they're abusing that. Let's look at a little bit of history here. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was a Democrat, by the way, he tried this exact same thing in 1937. He wanted to add 6 new justices to get favorable rulings on his New Deal legislation. And guess what happened? His own party, the Democratic Party, revolted. The Democrats in Congress called it a threat to democracy. Imagine that. The Senate Judiciary Committee, which was controlled by the Democrats, unanimously rejected it. And they called it, quote, a needless, futile, and utterly dangerous abandonment of constitutional principle. Yeah, that was the Democrats, 1937, about their own president. So what changed? What changed since then? Well, they started losing cases. That's what changed. And then suddenly, the same idea that was utterly dangerous back in 1937 is now a no bad ideas brainstorm in 2026 by Kamala Harris. Well, that's not principle, that's power. And the difference is that they're finally admitting it out loud. They're saying the quiet part out loud. All right, let's go on to section 4 with this whole statehood thing. So let's talk about statehood for Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, because this one gets packaged as a fairness argument, representation for people who don't currently have it. And I'll be honest, there is legitimate conversation to be had about representation for those territories. But that is not what this proposal is actually about. And the timing tells you everything. It's clear. Washington, D.C. votes Democrat 90% of the time. In the 2020 presidential election, poopy pants Joe Biden won by 87 points. If D.C. becomes a state, that's 2 new Democratic senators permanently, regardless of what any election produces anywhere else in the country. And Puerto Rico, well, they're not as predictable, but they trend heavily Democratic in presidential polling. So you get 2 more Senate seats, potentially making that 4 to 6 electoral college votes that will shift overall. Okay, so in one move, statehood for both territories, you're potentially adding 4 Democratic senators to the United States Senate permanently. And then the Senate currently splitting 53 to 47 Republican. Well, that's undone because you got 4 guaranteed Democratic pickups that flips the math. So this is not about giving people representation. If it were about representation, they would have pushed for this during the 2 years of 2009 and 2011 when the Democrats controlled the White House and the Senate and the House all at the same time. But they didn't do anything. They didn't do a dadgum thing back then. So they're pushing for this now because they're losing. That's why. And they need to add the permanent structural advantages to compensate for the fact that their policies, which are whack job, leftist, lunatic policies, they're not winning in the majority of the states that they currently even represent. So that's not democracy. That is engineering the outcome before the game is even played. All right, last one, number 5. This is the bigger plan here, all right? We're going to zoom out for a second because this video doesn't just exist in isolation, all right? So in the last video, we broke it down. The Virginia redistricting decision where the state's Supreme Court rejected a Democratic gerrymandering plan, even though Walmart Obama claims that they could appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States. That's nonsense, not going to happen. But before that, we covered how Obama would also gerrymander the 7 states in 2028 to make up for what they lost in not getting that little whack job plan pushed through the state Supreme Court. And before that, we did the video on how the entire minority district system, it requires that Black Americans stay concentrated in segregated communities and vote as a unified block. If you didn't see that video, you need to go back and watch it. And if they don't vote as one unified block, the whole plan falls apart. Yeah, so they're depending on segregation, not by law, but they need Black people to stay where they're at and to vote 80% for the Democratic Party. Now, let's look at what Kamala just proposed. And then you can ask yourself, do you see a pattern? So they lost the Virginia redistricting fight. So Obama, he promises to gerrymander the 7 extra, states. They lost the Supreme Court case on the redistricting, and then Kamala proposes to pack the freaking court so they can't win the Electoral College consistently. So Kamala proposes, well, get rid of it. Crap can it. Eliminate the whole dadgum thing. They can't get enough Senate seats in existing states. So, hey, we'll just make some new ones. That's a great plan. So this is not a reaction to losing. It's a plan, all right? It's a coordinated multi-front strategy to restructure. Let's do Hakeem Jeffries gestures. This is a coordinated multi-front strategy to restructure the rules of the American government so that one party cannot be removed from power regardless of what voters decide. How was that for my Hakeem Jeffries speech impersonation? Now, the crazy thing is they're calling this saving democracy, right? Saving democracy. They need to just own up to it. It's saving the democratocracy or the dumbocratocracy. They're trying to save their power. That's it. So I want that to sit with you for a moment, okay? The party that has spent the last 10 years telling you that questioning an election, well, you know, you can't question election results. That's an attack on democracy, right? You're an election denier, right? That same party is now openly proposing to eliminate the whole dadgum electoral college, to pack the freaking Supreme Court, to manufacture 4 new Senate seats, and to redraw every congressional district in the country. Tell you what, if a Republican proposed any one of these things, it would be like the top story on every major news network for like a month or several months. Oh, and you know what they call it? They'd say, that's fascism, authoritarianism, you know, it's the kings. They'd be marching in the streets, doing the no kings crap and saying, free the Venezuelan dictator, free Iran, let Ayatollah come back into power. You know how they do. But when Kamala Harris proposes the same garbage, well, it's a no bad ideas brainstorm. Jesus, kind of crazy. Okay, so now let me speak specifically to the black community, because this entire conversation, Kamala's live stream, the Supreme Court ruling, the redistricting fight, all of it is being framed as being about protecting black voters, right? And I just need you to hear this very clear, all right? Because I say this is in love, all right? None of this is about protecting you. None of it. Packing the Supreme Court does not put food on the table. Eliminating the Electoral College doesn't fix your crumbling schools. Adding D.C. and Puerto Rico estates ain't going to lower the rent, for you people in New York City with Mayor Mamdani the Commie. All right. It doesn't create new jobs in the neighborhood. What all of these proposals do, every single one of them, is just guarantee that the Democratic Party maintains structural control of the federal government. And that's it. That's the whole plan. Okay. And here's what I keep coming back to. Kamala Harris said the Democrats need to fight fire with fire, right? But who's the fire? Who's the enemy that requires this level of systemic restructuring to defeat? It's you. It's the American voter who keeps making the wrong choice. Yep. It's the black voter who's starting to ask the questions, though, and it's the working class family that voted for the Democratic Party for 40 dadgum years that finally looked around and asked, well, what did I get for this? There's a big percentage of the black community, the foundational black Americans, FBAs, that are asking that question now. They're saying, what did we get? The answer is we didn't get jack squat. So the fire that they want to fight is the fire of people that are waking up. And the way that they want to fight is to build a system where your waking up doesn't matter anymore, because the rules will already be written in their favor. Magical. So I've told you from day one that it's a dangerous thing to be loyal to a party, period. All right. It leaves you vulnerable to manipulation, brainwashing, and I have likened political parties to cults. I got videos on that. You can scroll back and check out those videos. So what they'll do, they'll use your vote and leave your values behind because they change the values every decade. You know, the values are completely flipped, switched, turned upside down. And what Kamala Harris just laid out in that ridiculous live stream is the most honest confirmation of what I have ever seen. This is it. It's like, rip the mask off. Now we see it. So she's not trying to save democracy. She's trying to save the Dumbocratic Party's permanent hold on power because the grip is slipping. They're losing their grip on power. And that's why they're proposing these ridiculous things. And she wants to use your outrage about racism, voter rights, Jim Crow 2.0. They want to use that to build the machinery that does it, that puts them in permanent power. And I'm asking you to not let her do that. Use your head. I want you to think. So here's where we are. Let's summarize this, and I'm gonna tell you what's coming. So Kamala just told a room full of Democratic women that there are no bad ideas. Then she rattles off to 5 ridiculous, absurd ideas that would structurally guarantee Democratic control of the Supreme Court, the Senate, the Electoral College, and congressional districts all at the same time. And she turned around, she called the Republicans cheaters. Then she proposed to change every rule that they've been winning under. Well, since they're winning because of these rules, get rid of them. She said, fight fire with fire, right? And then she described building a fireproof wall around the Democratic Party. And she did all of this in the same week that the Supreme Court gutted the Voter Rights Act while claiming to be a defender of democracy. Well, here's the question. Is any of this actually going to happen? If the Democrats win the Senate and the White House in 2028, I don't think they're gonna. But if they do they actually go through with this stuff or do they not? What do you think? What do you think? Is this just kind of like red meat for the 2026 midterms? Is this just something to get everybody riled up so that they can get back in control in the Congress? I don't know. Now, here's the deeper question. If they do go through with it, if they pack the court, eliminate the dadgum Electoral College, manufacture the 4 new Senate seats, redraw every district in their favor, is there any coming back from that? Or is that the moment that American democracy, as the founders designed it, effectively ends? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have the answers, but I do know this. The fact that a major party presidential frontrunner, even though the polls are showing that she's not the frontrunner, I'm pretty sure that once it gets to election season, she's going to be the frontrunner. So you got a frontrunner proposing all of this openly, okay, calling it a brainstorm and facing almost no resistance from her own party. So that tells us exactly who they are. This story is just getting started, and we're going to stay on top of it right here on the Go Political channel. So share this video, tick the notification bell, subscribe, and come to the Go Political blog post section. It used to be called the community section. I'm going to always post announcements about new videos because the notifications don't work anymore. I have 10,000 subscribers and maybe 10 of them are getting notified when I post a new video because YouTube has changed everything. They only dole out videos to random strangers to see how they'll react. Now the subscriber base function is useless. So you're going to have to come back every day and check in. And here's another thing. I found out that like 70 to 80% of people are watching this on their TV. So if you're watching on the TV, I'm going to need you to go grab your phone right now and then search Go Political Carlton. It's just @ Go Political CARLTON. Go to my page and subscribe. And then hit the notification bell because the next chapter is coming faster than any of us expected. And that's about all I got to say about this. This is Carlton, and I am out.